Along the mist-shrouded shores of the Pacific Northwest, where ancient cedar trees pierced the heavens, lived a young man named Kewedi. Kewedi was a hunter of the Kwakwakuwak people, possessing a bravery that far exceeded his years, yet his heart harbored a dangerous ambition. Since childhood, he had listened to the whispers of the elders regarding the Sisiutl, the double-headed serpent capable of shape-shifting and wielding unimaginable power. The Sisiutl was no mere beast. It was the guardian of the threshold between the human world and the spirit realm, a dual symbol of destruction and protection. Legend warned that any mortal who gazed upon the Sisiutl without absolute mental fortitude would instantly be turned into stone. However, for those pure of heart and iron in will, the Sisiutl could become a protector, bestowing magical strength upon their weapons and garments. Kewedi felt his tribe was growing weak, and he believed that only by claiming the Sisiutl's power could he bring glory back to his village. One morning, while the fog still draped the bay in a thick white shroud, Kewedi launched his cedar canoe into the calm but freezing waters. He carried no ordinary nets or fishing spears. He carried an amulet of seashell and cedar ash, blessed by an ancient shaman. His eyes were fixed on the deep waters near the jagged cliffs known as the Place Not Named, where the sea often churned without reason. The sea breeze began to whisper, sounding as if the spirits of the ancestors were warning him to turn back before it was too late. Kewedi ignored the chill creeping up his neck and continued to paddle deeper into the heart of the sea spirit's domain. Suddenly, the once still surface of the water began to vibrate, creating concentric ripples that grew larger around his canoe. From the darkness of the depths, two identical serpent heads emerged at either end of a scaly, metallic body, shimmering like copper in the dim light. In the center of the serpent's immense body sat a human face with a gaze so piercing it felt as though it could see through to his soul. This was the Sisiutl, the embodiment of balance, appearing to answer the presence of a mortal bold enough to trespass in its waters. Kewedi froze, yet he remembered the shaman's instruction: never look away and never show a single shred of fear. O guardian of the waters and the land, I come not to challenge you, but to seek your aid. Kewedi cried out, his voice trembling slightly. The Sisiutl did not answer in human words, but with a sound like the grinding of boulders beneath the pressure of a massive tide. The serpent head on the left hissed, flickering a forked tongue, while the head on the right stared with a cold, judging intensity. Kewedi felt his body grow heavy, as if his very blood were cooling and turning into a hard, unyielding mineral. He knew this was the first trial. If he faltered for a second, he would become an eternal stone monument in the lonely bay. With the last of his strength, Kewedi raised the cedar ash amulet and scattered it toward the churning surface of the water. A strange light emanated from the Sisiutl's scales, reflecting shadows of the past and future upon the dark waves. The Sisiutl began to circle Kewedi's canoe, its speed increasing until it created a whirlpool that threatened to swallow the small vessel. Within the vortex, Kewedi saw visions of war, famine, and the destruction of nature, should power be misused by the unworthy. He saw how humans often forgot their respect for the spirits of the earth in favor of their own personal egos and greed. The human face in the center of the Sisiutl began to speak, its voice echoing in Kewedi's mind without the need for moving lips. Why do you seek my power, child of man? Do you wish to destroy your enemies or protect those who are weak? The spirit asked. Kewedi fell silent for a moment, the question striking the deepest part of his heart and tearing down the walls of his arrogance. He realized that his initial quest for glory was merely a mask for a hunger for dominance over his fellow man. I sought to protect my people from the coming darkness, yet I see now that the darkness may reside within me, Kewedi answered truthfully. Upon hearing this honesty, the Sisiutl ceased its spinning, and the waters returned to an instant, eerie calm. The double-headed serpent drew closer, its central human face now only inches away from Kewedi's pale, sweat-slicked brow. The Sisiutl touched the edge of the canoe with a rigid scale, and immediately the cedar would transformed, becoming as strong as metal yet as light as a feather. Power is not given to be owned, but to be borrowed by those who understand the meaning of sacrifice, the Sisiutl whispered. The spirit issued a final warning. This blessing would vanish if Kewedi ever used violence without a righteous and just cause. The Sisiutl then dived back into the deep, leaving Kewedi alone in the sacred silence of the early morning. Coeti returned to his village not as a conqueror, but as a guardian, with a profound new understanding of life and balance. The villagers marveled at the sight of his canoe, which now glowed with intricate patterns resembling the scales of a serpent. From that day forward, Coeti abandoned his pride. He became the first to assist those in need and the one to mediate all disputes. However, news of Coeti's supernatural power spread far to the northern tribes, inciting the envy of greedy and warlike leaders. A northern chief named Helot sent his warriors to steal the secrets of Coeti's strength, believing it to be a physical weapon. They arrived under the cover of night, attempting to burn the village and force the young man to surrender the Sisiutl's blessing. Coeti stood at the shoreline, facing the enemy's fleet of war canoes without a single blade or spear in his hands. The invaders laughed at the sight of Coeti standing alone, assuming he had surrendered before the battle had even begun. But as Coeti touched the seawater with his fingertips, the shadow of the Sisiutl rose beneath the surface, guarding the coastline. The starry sky was suddenly obscured by heavy black clouds, and thunder rumbled with a frequency that shook the very earth. Helot ordered his men to loose their arrows, but the projectiles curved away as if striking an invisible, impenetrable wall. Coeti remembered the Sisiutl's promise, that nature would defend those who protect the balance, not those who seek bloodshed. Suddenly, the two massive serpent heads erupted from the sea on either side of Helot's fleet, pinning them in a terrifying pincer. Pure terror spread among the northern warriors as they saw the central human face of the beast, staring back at them. Many who tried to strike the serpent directly were instantly transformed into stone statues, sinking to the seabed due to their weight. Helot fell to his knees on his boat, begging for mercy as he realized he was facing the wrath of a god, not just a man. Coeti signaled for the Sisiutl to stop, did not wish to see more lives lost, even though they were his enemies. The double-headed serpent looked at Coeti, testing whether the young man would be tempted to annihilate his foes completely. With compassion, Coeti said, "Let them go so they may tell the world that nature has its own way of defending itself." The Sisiutl gave a low hiss of approval and slowly vanished back into the mist that was beginning to settle once more. The remaining enemy fleet fled in terror, swearing never again to disturb the land protected by the spirit of the serpent. The village was saved, but Coeti knew that his duty as the Sisiutl's messenger of warning had only just begun. Years turned into decades, and Coeti grew into a highly respected elder throughout the Pacific Northwest coast. He taught the youth that the Sisiutl was not just a monster to be feared, but a mirror reflecting the human soul itself. If you approach it with hatred, you will find death. If you approach it with truth, you will find a path, he always said. Coeti also reminded them that the Sisiutl represents the duality of life, day and night, joy and sorrow, life and death. The tradition of carving the Sisiutl on totem poles and longhouses flourished as a symbol of protection against malevolent spirits. Whenever a great storm rolled in from the sea, the villagers no longer trembled, knowing the Sisiutl was watching over them. One day, when Coeti was very old, he felt a call from the depths of the ocean that he had not heard in a long time. He knew his time in the mortal world was drawing to a close, and it was time to fulfill his final promise to the serpent. With steps that were shaky but determined, Coeti walked toward the shore for the last time under a blood-red sunset. The seawater greeted his feet with a strange warmth, as if the ocean itself were reaching out to embrace him. On the horizon, the Sisiutl appeared once more, this time not with anger, but with a soft and comforting radiance. Coeti stepped into the water, his human body slowly fading and merging with the primal energy of the universe. The villagers watching from a distance saw Coeti transform into a bluish light that circled the Sisiutl 3 times. Coeti's spirit now became a part of the double-headed serpent, serving as a third eye to watch over humanity from the spirit realm. This legend continues to be told from generation to generation, crossing thousands of years to reach our ears today. The mythology of the Pacific Northwest and Alaska is rich with stories where the line between man and nature is thin. Sisiutl remains one of the most powerful figures in their tradition, a reminder of the incredible forces dwelling in the wild. We learn that true courage is not the absence of fear, but doing what is right, even when fear is present. The Sisiutl teaches us to always look in both directions before making a major decision in our lives. Never let ambition blind your eyes to the beauty and fragility of the ecosystem that sustains all life. The cedar forests and cold northern waters still hold many mysteries that modern science has yet to fully grasp. Every time you see the symbol of the double-headed serpent in indigenous art, remember Coyote's journey and the Sisiutl's warning? True power always comes from within, from the ability to master oneself before attempting to master the world. The magic of the Sisiutl is the magic of integrity, and being honest with the deepest part of your own being. Never underestimate the old stories, for within them lies a wisdom that is timeless and universal. The heroes of these Native American traditions show that honor is worth more than gold or fleeting power. Let us continue to protect this cultural heritage so it is not lost in our increasingly fast and noisy modern world. Sisiutl may still be out there, in the untouched depths of the sea, waiting for the next mortal brave enough to be truthful. Are you ready to face the serpent within yourself and discover your own true strength? This story is a tribute to the tribes of the Pacific Northwest and Alaska who have guarded this land for centuries. May the spirit of Coyote and the protection of the Sisiutl always accompany you on your own life's journey. Life is a river that flows, sometimes calm and sometimes turbulent, but always heading toward the same vast ocean. We are the keepers of what we inherit, and we are the architects of the legacy we will eventually leave behind. Thank you for listening to the legend of the Sisiutl, this magnificent and terrifying double-headed serpent. Let this story sink into your soul and provide inspiration to become a wiser person with every passing day. The world is full of both shadow and light, and our task is to find the harmony that exists between them. Until we meet again in the next myth or legend from another corner of our fascinating world, please take a moment to appreciate and support cultural and educational content that keeps these stories alive. Comment, like, share, and subscribe to Storycraft Studio for more ancient mysteries.